In this tutorial for Team Yankee, I'm going to discuss smoke bombardment. So before I discuss what is smoke bombardment, I'm going to discuss who can do it. So like this carnation here, if you look at like the artillery line, it says smoke bombardment. So that's what I'm going to be talking about, is this attack. This one says smoke, which is a direct fire. That's a different type of smoke attack. I'll say attack. I already did a video on this, direct smoke, so go ahead and watch that one if you don't know what it is. This one is something that's a completely different beast in the game, and that's smoke bombardment. So now that we know who can shoot smoke bombardment, let's talk a little bit about what it is. How you do it or perform it is just pretty much like an artillery strike, artillery sequence, which I've gone through, but there are a few changes. But you will still have to have a spotting team. You're going to check the range. There's no template size. I will talk about the size of the smoke you will get, though. You still select an aiming point. You rotate the face. You roll the range in, and then that's it. And then we'll place the smoke down. So let's say we have these three carnations, and they're getting ready to do a smoke bombardment. And we're just going to have some Abrams over here. Okay. When they shot, I did a video on direct fire smoke, and you had to actually pick a target and actually hit it. But with smoke bombardment, you actually pick any place you want, as usual, like with line of sight and all that. So they could be right on top of the tank. It could be sighted in front of it, wherever you want it, as long as you fulfill line of sight, range, and all that stuff, which I've already talked about in my artillery videos. So let's say they want to range in on this spot. So they're going to get 3 chances. So they got their line of sight, they got their spotter, whoever's spotting. They got a skill level 5. Red, white, blue is how I do it. First, second, third chance. They need a 5. And they got it on the second one. And the third one, but they got it on the second one. It doesn't matter. If this would have come up a 1, 1, 1, 6, they succeeded on that. They succeeded if they get any of these. And what happens is, for every team that's shooting, you get to place a 2-inch by 4-inch piece of smoke. So it has to start where your ranged in marker is, and then you can rotate it any angle you want from that. And what's going to happen is the other 2 pieces are going to go straight out from there. So if you go that angle, that's the way it's going to be. If you go this angle, that's the way they're going to be. And that's pretty much how you do it. You can hit right on top of them, but it's not going to do any damage. If we add 3 more vehicles in here shooting, so now we're going to have 6 pieces, so it's going to go off the thing here, and it's going to continue on. And that would be a 24-inch or 2-foot line of smoke. So that's pretty easy. There are a few things I do need to cover, though. If you're going to, let's say the Soviets want to do this smoke bombardment, at the beginning of the shooting step, this has to be the first team that's going to shoot. That means even if if you have like the Hinds out here, they can't shoot first. If you have your T-72s out here, they cannot shoot first. It has to be them. Lay down the smoke. Then you can choose who on your side you want to shoot with next. Each unit that can do smoke bombardment can only do it 1 time per game. So if this was 1 unit, they did this, they're done. Well, not done. They're done doing smoke bombardment. They cannot do it any other time during the game. Let's say we got 2 different units. So we have to take 3 of these off. So we're back to 3. These 3 shot this. They haven't shot the smoke bombardment. So sometime during the game, they can still do it. But once they do it, they're also complete with smoke bombardment. They can still do their artillery strike and their direct fire, but and direct fire smoke still. You can keep doing that turn after turn. But as far as smoke bombardment, 1 time per game per unit that can do it. Also, when you were doing artillery, and I talked about danger close, so if you haven't seen that video and you're not familiar with it, go ahead and watch it. But with smoke bombardment, you don't have to worry about that. It can be, you can hit right on top of your own guys, That's okay. If anybody moves through it, the smoke stays. It does no damage. So you don't have to worry about danger close when doing smoke bombardment. Well, what does this smoke bombardment get you? Well, before, when you put it on here, and I've already talked about that, it's just a +1 penalty to hit. But you can see however far you can normally see if you're shooting in, through, or out of the smoke. So if this tank moves on, and we're going to pretend like these are not there, it's getting a normal shot. Now it's 1 harder to hit them, and I've already talked about that. What this does is still has that +1 harder to hit. Got some of the grass on there. But there's only a 6-inch view where they can only see 6 inches. So for this tank to even see on the other side, they have to be within 6 inches of the smoke. So, okay, that one can see, but that one cannot. This one can't see on the other side of smoke. This one can, but it can only see 6 inches past the smoke. So if these guys are further back than that 6 inches, yeah, he can see on the other side, but he cannot see any of them. Of course, they cannot see him. Even if he moves right there, there's a 6-inch. Once he's out of the smoke, now he's got clear line of sight. So that's what it does, is it blocks line of sight until you get close up, and then it's only 6 inches on both sides. So they have to be within 6 inches to see over here, and anybody on this side has to be within 6 inches to see on that side and see each other. But also, just like with direct fire smoke, it's 1 penalty to hit. So if they can see these guys, it's still 1 harder to hit them because they're shooting through the smoke. Or even if they're in the smoke, it'll still be that penalty. Last thing is, when do you remove the smoke? So we're going to pretend they shot the smoke, blah, blah, blah. They went through their turn, did whatever they were going to do. Now we're back to the Soviets' turn. And we go through our starting step, and you have to do this in order, check formation, check victory. And if you go down to the very bottom one, it says remove friendly smoke markers. That's when they would go away. They're still ranged in on that spot, though, for other template weapons. So it'll last your turn, the opponent's turn. When it gets back to your turn, that's when you remove it, when you go through your starting steps. And that is smoke bombardment.